talking about what functional nutrition is and why it matters in our practices. But the big question is, how can this lens make a difference for you? You may have just graduated from school or be in your own practice, and you're finding that you need some more tools to help you and wondering, do you need more business and marketing help? Do you need to go back to graduate school to learn more? Well, functional nutrition and understanding this lens is really your next step in being able to help people in the way that matters to you. And the way we do this with a functional lens is by understanding the science of nutrition. That really comes down to going inside the body and comprehending the physiology and how all the pieces work together. Oftentimes in our medical system, we are seen as disparate parts. We're a digestive system to the gastroenterologist, or we're just our nervous system to the neurologist or the psychologist. But in fact, we are an entire web that works together, and each part of the physiology is interrelated to another expression. The way we make those connections is by understanding the science. You may be thinking, okay, you're telling me that applying this functional lens is my next step and it's going to help me, but I suck at science. Well, I want to tell you that was me too. In fact, in high school, my science and math teachers used to meet in the halls and talk about how I was so good at math and how could I be so bad at science. And it wasn't really until I started to look at science through the lens of what I cared about, what I loved, helping people, nutrition, food, that it started to make a difference. For instance, I always used to get really confused about the different fats. What was a polyunsaturated fat? What was a monounsaturated fat? What were the saturated fats? Omega-3s, omega-6s. And when I started to see the physical, chemical structure of those, I really understood how they worked differently in the body and what the difference was. It's almost like Sesame Street. So this isn't about learning science in a classroom. This is about learning science through stories and case studies and through the lens that, again, we love. Food, nutrition, helping people. Where does the body come into the picture? So let me tell you how using this functional lens has worked for me. I've been telling you about Jenna, the 14-year-old that I work with who has Crohn's disease. Now, in treating or working with Jenna, I really have to look at the whole picture of who she is. I have to understand what Crohn's is and where it exists in her body and how it's affecting her physiologically. I have to understand how it's affecting her symptoms and her life. She's a busy 14-year-old that wants to apply herself in school and be in the school musical and is at school for long hours. So my job in functionally working with Jenna is understanding how to approach the Crohn's, which is something I love to teach in our digestive focus, and also how to work with the individual. What is it that she's willing to do, and where can she be compliant and learn how to sustain a diet that's going to support her health for the long term when she goes away to college and beyond. So again, you might be thinking that's easy for you. You've been doing this for a long time. You've studied all the sciences and you've been practicing for so long. But I've worked with hundreds of students who have learned to apply this functional lens in their practice to elevate their position in the field. Just recently, I was talking to a student named Brian, and he was telling the story about how he started to partner with a physician in his area. And he did this by approaching the doctor and offering his nutrition services to the doctor personally. He felt that confident and that ready and able to address this doctor's nutritional and health needs. So he gave him this service so he could become accustomed with how he worked. And after 3 months, not only did the doctor ask to continue to work with Brian, but he started to refer his patients to Brian regularly so that they could work in tandem. And that's where understanding the physiology and really applying the science helps us to make connections, bridge the gap, and be one of the leaders on our clients' teams. What I'd love for you to do now is head over to Holistic Nutrition Lab and go to the reviews page where you can read about more people's experiences learning this lens and applying it in their practices and what it's done for them.